Welcome back to Gale Force Wins Season 5.
Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration. We're looking into the heart of Canadian identity, and we're doing it through the stories, some powerful and maybe surprising stories of those serving in the Royal Canadian Navy. We've got a whole stack of interviews here, sourced from the Gale Force Wins YouTube channel. These feature sailors, leaders, all sorts of ranks and roles. So our mission for this deep dive, it's really to pull out the key insights from these interviews. We want to get at, what does it truly mean to be Canadian, according to these individuals? You know, what kind of pride comes through? And what does their dedication, their service, tell us about the Canadian spirit? You know, when we try to pin down what being Canadian means, it can feel huge, kind of elusive sometimes. But these RCN interviews, they offer such a specific, grounded viewpoint. What sort of common threads jumped out at you weaving through their experiences?
It's really interesting, actually. What comes through so strongly is how Canada is painted as this beautiful mosaic. We hear that a lot, right? But here, it's more than just different backgrounds existing side by side. It feels like service actively forges a shared identity from that diversity. You've got Andrew Rennicks from Mississauga, Matt Corbett from Cape Breton, Kathy Song from BC, even Inga Anushenko, born in Lithuania, an immigrant. Different starting points, absolutely, but they all speak with this really deep connection to being Canadian. It's quite profound.
That's a great point, not just reflecting diversity, but forging something shared from it. And it sounds like a big part of that forging process happens through these incredibly strong personal bonds. I noticed family and camaraderie popping up constantly. It's more than just a job, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's central. Andrew Rennicks, he puts it plainly, spend that much time together, they become family. Full stop. And David Steves, talking about comradeship, he had that powerful line, didn't he?
The one about brothers and sisters.
Yeah. A brother, a sister is a brother and sister for life. And he explicitly says, regardless of skin color, politics, religion, sexual orientation. It really presents the RCN as this kind of ideal microcosm of Canada, genuinely inclusive.
Like a living example.
Exactly. And Patrick, the cook on HMCS Toronto, he observed how crucial that team feeling is. He said a ship loses that human element, it becomes hard to work on if the crew doesn't feel like a unit.
That makes sense.
And he even tied it to food, which I loved. He said, you never really see too many people arguing while eating. Such a simple human observation about unity.
That human element, that family feel, it definitely seems core to their experience.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where the resilience comes from. Because these folks aren't just serving, they're often pushing through some really tough personal stuff. What drives that dedication?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What is fueling that resilience and the pride that comes with it? We heard Stephanie McAndrew, the naval communicator, talk so frankly about her seasickness.
Right, being really sick for days.
Yeah, admitting she'd be wondering, why did I sign on to the sail those first couple of days? But then she pushes through. She emphasizes, in the end, it always is worth it. For the job, for the experience, for bringing the ship to life. That's not just toughness. It's like this quiet determination, a very Canadian sort of perseverance, maybe.
Could be. It resonates.
And then Michelle Tessier, the naval commander, her story about the childhood hip surgery, being in a body cast at 5. She felt that early challenge fueled her desire to try everything, finding balance later through yoga, theater, even saying, Thunder Bay saved my life in terms of managing stress.
Wow. So turning personal challenges into fuel for service.
Exactly. It shows this incredible capacity.
That's really quite inspiring. Yeah. It also suggests that leadership within the RCN must have, evolved to support that human side, to allow that resilience to actually thrive.
That seems right. It's a really important point. Michelle Tessier herself spoke about leading from a place of compassion. She said, look, rules are rules. They have to be enforced. But there's more room now for understanding, for empathy. That feels like a shift.
A more modern approach.
Reflecting broader Canadian values, perhaps? And David Steves, the chief petty officer, his advice was just brilliant. So direct.
Oh, the don't be a butthead line.
Exactly. Don't be a butthead. Just be nice to people. Treat people like you want to be treated. Listen to them. So simple, so effective. And his hockey analogy, too.
Right, about being in the penalty box.
Yeah, you're not playing the game of hockey unless you're in the penalty box once in a while. Meaning, hey, you make mistakes, you learn. It's okay.
That's very Canadian, the hockey reference.
So this focus on treating people well, listening, while still getting the job done, even through tough times like the pandemic, that really stands out as a leadership theme.
Okay, so the internal stuff, the bonds, the leadership, the resilience, it's clearly huge.
Yeah.
But what about looking outward? The RCN also offers these incredible chances to see the world, make an impact globally. That wanderlust factor seems pretty strong.
Oh, definitely. That desire to see the world, it comes up again and again. It's a big motivator. You had Josh McMahon talking about sailing the entire western seaboard from Alaska down to Chile.
Wow.
And just the fun of bumping into other Canadians randomly in places like Crete. Those little moments of connection far from home.
Yeah, finding a piece of home abroad.
And Nick Harmer mentioned the cool places to see, comparing architecture overseas to back home in Canada, that sense of discovery.
Yeah.
But Ryan Bell, the XO on HMCS Harry DeWolf, he really nailed the spirit of adventure. He said, you never know when you wake up in the morning what the day's going to hold. That unpredictability.
And his own story is pretty amazing, right?
Incredible. Small-town Ontario to circumnavigating North America, doing the first Northwest Passage transit by a Canadian naval ship since 1954, he called it humbling. Visiting Frankly expedition sites, learning from Arctic communities, that's a uniquely Canadian journey, connecting them to our history, our geography.
So it really sounds like this constant journey.
Yeah.
Self-improvement, but also contributing back. What did you see about that drive for personal growth?
Well, it's definitely not just about what the Navy gives you. It's also what people bring to it and develop within it. Matt Corbett's story is fantastic, taking leave to learn skydiving.
Yeah, that was wild. 0 jumps to 53 in 2 weeks.
He said 53 free-fall jumps in 2 weeks, setting a U.S. record, he thinks, just pure personal drive. Yeah. And then he joins the Skyhawks, the Canadian Forces parachute team, travels the country, jumps the flag over Parliament Hill, performs for sick kids at the Okanagan Dream Rally.
So taking a personal passion and directly using it to serve and connect with Canadians.
Exactly. It's such a visible, impactful way to represent the country. It shows how the RCN can nurture these skills that benefit everyone.
And it seems like that foundation for growth, for leadership, often starts pretty early.
That's a really good point. Keith Coffin, the chief engineer, mentioned the unbelievable number of leaders who got their start in the Canadian Cadet program.
So planting those seeds young.
Right, building that sense of purpose, that connection to Canada from an early age. And Kathy Song, the computer electrical engineer, she talked about the continuous learning within the service. How, as a younger officer, she brings a fresh perspective, sure, but she also learns a ton from the more experienced people.
So it's a two-way street.
It seems like it, a culture where different perspectives, new and old, are valued, which again feels very Canadian.
And underpinning all of this, the service, the growth, the adventures, has to be family, right? That support system. Mm-hmm. The sacrifices families make are huge.
Oh, absolutely crucial. And that raises the question, what's the human cost of this service and how is it managed? Mark Norman talked about the 2 strong women in his family.
Keeping him grounded.
Yeah, reminding him, you're not the captain here, you're not the admiral here. That connection to just being human outside the uniform. And Michelle Tessier sharing how her partner handled home renos while she was away sailing. Those real everyday sacrifices.
The practical stuff that keeps life going.
Totally. And then there was that really moving story from the sailor on HMCS Toronto, his wife caring for their daughter with brain cancer. And him expressing such gratitude for the Navy job, for the support system it provides, support that a lot of civilians don't have, he said.
Wow, that puts things in perspective.
It really does. That shared understanding, that recognition that family support is so vitally important. It shows how that Canadian sense of community has to extend beyond the sailors themselves to the families enabling their service.
Hearing all these stories, this whole deep dive, it wouldn't even be possible without the work of Gale Force Wins.
Absolutely. What they've done is really quite commendable, the sheer scale of it. Over 100 interviews recorded with Canadians in the Royal Canadian Navy. That's a significant legacy they're building for all of us.
Just the logistics alone.
Right. The effort involved. Traveling to places like Ternougia in Greece to interview the crew on HMCS Montreal, or Turks and Caicos for HMCS Harry DeWolf. Actually sailing on HMCS Toronto from St. John's to Halifax, visiting HMCS Margaret Brooke, interviewing the HMCS Windsor crew.
And doing this as pandemic restrictions were easing, which must have added another layer of difficulty.
Exactly. It just speaks volumes about their dedication, their commitment to showcasing these people, capturing these important stories. It's an incredible archive.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive into the lives of our RCN personnel, it paints a really rich picture of Canadian identity. It's a blend, isn't it? Diverse origins coming together to form this inclusive family. It's that unwavering spirit of camaraderie, born from facing challenges together. It's incredible personal resilience, pushing beyond what seems possible. And it's this quiet, steady, impactful contribution Canada makes on the world stage, often unseen. The stories, Matt Corbett skydiving with a flag for kids, Ryan Bell navigating the Northwest Passage, connecting with our history, Patrick the cook building unity one meal at a time for 240 people at sea. These stories show that Canadian pride, it isn't just about symbols or big pronouncements. It's really about that deep human connection, that dedication, the sacrifices made in places we don't always see.
It's in those everyday acts of service, those bonds forged under pressure.
So, as we think about Canada's future, our place in the world, maybe consider this. How do these individual stories of service, of sacrifice the kind Gale Force Wins has worked so hard to capture, how do they shape our collective understanding of what being Canadian really means? And maybe, what responsibility do we have, all of us, to continue supporting those who serve, and crucially, the families who make that service possible?
Thank you for tuning in to Gale Force Wins. That's Gale Force Wins, WINS.com.